Hey guys, how's it going? Worked on this a little bit off stream, as you can hopefully tell. I've realised my scene scale is completely fucked, so that might be one of the things I tried to figure out today. I do have a saved render. So, in terms of changes that I've made, obviously I've added a bit more of an environment. I've kind of started to build the background assets out a bit more, going through that kind of writer's desk type of feel. It's just as I've been working on this, I've realised the glass feels a bit tiny, but when if I look at pint glasses online, it says they're about 6 inches or 15 centimeters tall, and this is currently I think 8 centimeters, so it could be a half pint. Maybe it's worth searching the size of those, because I don't think I have any half pint glasses in the house. But yeah, it's just the scale feels a bit off. Like the suites seem massive. Well, that's an open suite, so that feels a bit big anyway, but the suite just seems a bit too big next to this thing. So, no, they've added timestamps. That's cool. Yeah, YouTube just told me that they've added a feature to create tags during the video. But yeah, anyway, so this is where we're at. In terms of changes made, yeah, we've got the environment in there. I've increased the density of the fog in the environment a little bit. So this kind of green glow we got coming out of the box is a lot stronger now. I have had to turn off a few of the lights volume, just to kind of make it so it's not God rays coming from behind him, because he does have a light on the back of his head, this blue light, which kind of fades off once it gets past the shoulders. So I had to turn off volume for that. But for the most part, this scene is what you guys saw. Like, it looks like I've done a lot, but I've really not. This is literally all cubes. Like, these drawers are literally a cube stretched out and a sphere placed on the front of it. So I've not actually done that much work in terms of raw hours. I think I worked on it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe, while I figured stuff out. And the majority of it is intersecting meshes, spheres placed on the front of stuff. I started modeling this book a little bit because I'm trying to figure out kind of how much detail do I need, since everything's out of focus anyway. But yeah, so I just need to find out the scale of stuff, because it just feels off. Like, I want it to be a writer's desk, so it is supposed to be a bit smaller than a normal desk would be. I'm quite liking the asymmetry. Granted, you won't see that during the actual, in any of the renders. Like, this side will be completely empty. I'll probably just mirror these props over to get some different bounce. But yeah, so I'm just going to quickly Google half pint glass dimensions, because I need to find out if these dimensions make any sense, because with it being a writer's desk, it is going to be quite small. So these books might be too small. I've got a feeling that it's a mix of the books being too small, the post-it notes being too small, and the glass just not having a set scale at all. So it's 4.5 inches tall for the average half pint. That's 4.5 inches in centimeters. 4.5 inch in centimeters. That's 11 centimeters. Alright, so let's quickly check, because I did originally plan on this guy being a half pint. So let's just 10 centimeters. This is a 10 centimeter cube. It's a little bit, it's like a tiny bit too small, so I will scale that up slightly. Let me just quickly search that again. So 4.5 cm. So I want that to be 11.5. So let's just set this to 11.5. And then all I'm going to do is scale this guy's group until it's the same height. So that's now a half pint glass, which is, it feels a little bit more correct now next to the sweets. The sweets I know are the correct scale. The pencil I know is roughly the right scale, although I do need to work on the pencil at some point, push it a bit further. But yeah, so let me just quickly save this scene. But yeah, so I'm going to do a super quick test render with that. And yeah, in terms of resolution, I've set the resolution now to, I can't remember what ratio this is. It's the same ratio as like Super 35 film. It's like a standard kind of working ratio. So let me just set this view to test resolution 50%. Okay, it's 1440p tall, and then is this stretched out? Can't tell. Oh yeah, it's 1440p tall, and I can't remember the height of it. The height is not that much more, to be honest. Cause it's pretty close to 4x3 if it isn't actually 4x3. Does this image feel stretched? Let's just delete that guy. And I'm just going to get that render up that I had, desktop. There you are. That's what I compare them side by side. Oh, it's not stretched. It just, for some reason, feels stretched. Maybe it's the aliasing, producing weird artifacts. But yeah, so that larger glass helps. And also now we've seen the water line, which is a little bit more interesting. Let's just move that back here. Although I guess in some ways I don't really want it to be blocking the shelves too much because I find their shape quite interesting. Could be worth potentially putting it more over here. Let's try moving that like here. I guess now the problem is that it feels like the layout is too horizontal. But yeah, this stream is going to be their figuring stuff out stream. Oh, I've also changed the pose of the body. I forgot to mention that. The body is now a little bit less tall off screen, just because I was worried about the amount of groom that wouldn't be visible and kind of not. It's not about kind of, oh, I want my work to be on screen. It's more I don't want the amount of fur off screen to be that much, just because it's incredibly heavy. Like this groom is going to be very, very intense. That looks awful in that new place. So let's put that about there again. And then I'm gonna have to find out the scale of like the average like A4 book, or like the average book. I guess most books aren't A4, right? What would be a good book to get? Book dimensions. Why is it all in inches as well? I don't know measurements in inches. 13 centimeters by 20 centimeters is seemingly quite an average. 6 by 9 is also. So let me just create a 6 by 9. And now I've got two glasses. I'm going to pause that render. Move this a tiny bit that way. And then let's create a cube that is 6 by 9. Although that really isn't great measurements because that's just pages, that's not a book. So 6 by 9. What the hell is that on? Okay, let's try. Oh, that's 6 by 9 inches. Okay. So that would be, let's go 13 by 20. This is apparently an average book dimension. So we're going to have trouble fitting some of those in the shelves, I think. Might have to move the top shelves up, which is no big deal. Let's just rotate that guy. Obviously we can have books of different sizes. It's more just a case of like just making everything feel like it's in the right proportion to each other. I mean, hell, even having this one tall book kind of helps. In fact, do we need to move those up? I guess we do. I don't need to move that up though. I don't need to move that up either. This is why I model quite modularly. So let's just move all of that up. Oh, they don't have the same. Modify, freeze transformations. I feel like this should also be moved up. Obviously we can extend the bottom of it, because that just feels like it should line up with the shelf, even if it's just like that. So we can just grab the bottom of this mesh, pull it down to match. Don't know what this is operating on at the moment. That extra thickness is going to feel weird, isn't it? though. So now it feels a bit too steep. Let's just see how that renders. Although that's going to cut off a lot of this section, isn't it? Might end up undoing that. Let's give that a moment to do its thing. So how are you guys doing anyway? Everyone doing okay? Or is this going to be one of those streams I'm kind of like talking into the void? Is this still going or no? Oh, there it is. Okay. So the really annoying thing now is that that shelf's not really going to be visible in frame, and I quite liked the position of it. So I guess we could just cheat the book size a tiny bit. Like, it's not that important. It's just a case of let's get as close as we can to those dimensions. So, because I really like how all that stuff lined up in camera, and I'm okay with cheating dimensions if it makes things feel nicer. So let's just leave that. And oh wait, this guy's floating. Okay, so if we just make him a tiny bit shorter, and let's scale him by that vertex there. Hey Keegan, how you doing, man? I'm doing pretty well. Hope you're doing well as well, mate. Let's get these two books, move them that way. Move this guy that way, because I don't want it to be like the last book in the shelf, although maybe I do. Again, this might be blocking like other stuff, so let's move that over. Because the problem I've got is that the books feel out of proportion, so I do need a like correctly scaled book just to kind of give the illusion of other stuff being in the right place. Even just like that. Maybe if I can have the book kind of lean over. Let's just grab all these guys and then tilt that. Like that. See how that reads. I love how even at 50%, I might even go down to 25%. I have limited ZBrush, not ZBrush, why did I say ZBrush? I have limited Arnold to the amount of CPU cores it can use, because I felt it was getting a bit bogged down. But I tried to do, well, I was doing that render we saw before. I was doing this render, and it got to about 40 minutes in, and everything was starting to choke up. Like, my CPU being at 100% usage for a while started to really cause some issues for it. So, yeah, so I'm just going to kind of render at lower resolutions for a while now. Plus the amount of anti-alias passes that I need to get things like these sweet wrappers clear or clean is pretty high. I think my max AA subdivs now is at like 25 to get the bokeh and all that stuff clean, and even then it's not fully clean. Like how the bubbles in the glass, for example, like this was fully sampled, like this one here, and it's still a bit noisy. So I might look into camera plugins for Arnold. Not sure I'm liking the tangent I'm getting from all this. Is it worth changing the depth of this thing to fit a full book? Because I guess it would make sense for that to actually allow a full book to fit in. So I guess it's a case of selecting. Don't want to move that back. Just move these on their own for a moment. I doesn't need to move that far back. In fact, how far back does it need to move? If there was to slot in cleanly, something like that. How much space does it need? It needs that much space. We can extend things by that much. That's no problem. I still need to fix the model for this guy too, so let's do that. Let's do everything in one go. And let's just stretch that to the front, about that much, and make sure we're on linear soft select, like that. Just stretch that backwards. Same with you, you should be about the same. And then do we stretch them back, or I'm not sure. Let's stretch them back. Oh, we're going to delete that middle edge loop and add it back in a second. Cool. And technically these should be stretched out. I'm just not sure their scale will read that nicely if I just stretch them out. So let's give it a go anyway. To 4. Right, so does this feel more natural? That's the question now. I did not stretch the table as well. Let's just move that back because we can't see the front anyway. There we go, something like that. So, what else? Oh, I need to grab this guy as well. And just to keep life easy, I think in this case just grabbing these is good enough. Because he's not on screen anyway. We will need to kind of mess up the drawers a bit and actually model the insides of the drawers. Not like props and stuff in there, because that'd be a waste, but more, you know, making sure they've actually got a bottom so that it shadows correctly. So let's just move that back a bit, move you forward and rotate you. We'll save that guy. And then let's just run a quick render. 0 shading groups on which mesh? I can delete this back wall as well because it's useless now. Uh-oh. Alright, we need to update full scene. Now I'm going to need to reopen my scene, I think, to fix this resolution issue. Oh, wait, did it fix the stuff? Just give that a moment to do its thing. Hey, there we go. One thing I kind of want to do, and this is going to be one of those like really small dorky things that I like to put in my projects. I kind of want to put like a XGen tutorial on these post-it notes. Like just give tips on about grooming on these things. I just feel like that'd be quite a nice little touch. Will it work? Probably not, to be honest, but we can try it. I'm really not liking the tangent with the mouth on this guy. This lines up a bit too neatly. Again, let's consult the old one, because I did like how all this lined up. It's just, do we spend the time to put this in the right place so that it's still got that gap? I think we should, because it messes everything else up. So let's just grab a group that this guy's in. Let's just isolate this area and just put him . We could move our camera very slightly just aim it up a little bit more. Like lower down and aim up. In fact, yeah, let's give that a go. So let's just move that back to where it was because I like its old position. And then rather than doing all that shit, I'm just going to grab my camera, duplicate it, go into that new camera, render cam 1, I'm going to rename this to temp cam. Unlock all of these guys. I'm viewing through temp cam. Let's just find a nice location. So you can see how much of this is still off screen, which is a bit worrying. Let's just put you there. There is no camera. Yes, there is. Update full scene again. So I quite like this slightly higher angle. So maybe it's just a case of me being too picky. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. So let's just kill that idea. We can find a different way to tackle the glass position and all that jazz. So let's just delete this camera. So let's see what this looks. I'm curious as to how bokeh cleans up in very low resolutions. Like naturally, it won't be as pretty as higher resolutions because you got less pixels, especially at like 450 by 360. Pretty sure I remember playing games at this resolution. That hurts to think about. So true size is this big on my monitor. It's tiny. Right, so let's stop fucking about with this. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Christian, how you doing, man? As I said earlier, not too bad. Busy day at work, which is always fun, and I got some stuff tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, not really much going on, to be honest. Did I never actually reach the back wall? Apparently I didn't. Let's just push it completely through. And then DV. That's better. Still not sure the scale of this scene is working for me, and I still need to fill this with a lot more stuff. I also need to check the scale of these post-it notes because I scaled them in screen, basically like how big I want them to be, but it is worth checking. Let's just search post-it notes Amazon. Amazon is pretty good at having dimensions of stuff. Post-it notes 76 by 76 millimeters, so 7.6 centimeters. Create a cube. That's the way I always like to do it. I'm gonna set this to 7.6, and guess let's set this 7.6 as well. This is how big a post-it note should be, except from the thickness. Well, this could be a stack of post-it notes, but we'll ignore that for a moment. Hold J to snap. I mean, that's obviously considerably bigger, but let's find out how much bigger. About double the size that I need to be. Okay, let's select all the post-it. I also need to clean up my outliner. So let's select all the post-it notes. Modify freeze transformations. And set the scales to be 2. That might be a tad too big. Let's just move one off to the side. Actually about right. Okay, so you had to be double the scale. So is it worth scaling these down? Or do I just need to bite the bullet and scale the whole scene up? Because it wants to work for the average human hand. So I've got a tape measure at my desk. So my hand is just shy of 9.5 centimeters at the knuckles. No idea what that compares to most people, but about 9.5 centimeters, or like 9.25, something like that. So if I was to put a hand in here, 9.5, that would be the width of my hand, and then proportionally that would be my palm, I think. Shorter maybe. So my hand would just about cover these. Okay, so that needs to be scaled from camera, I think, because they're too small. And the reason I say scale from camera is because if I scale them from the camera, the like the actual position on screen gets kept. So all it would be a case of then is just moving the desk back up to match its current position. So I'm gonna grab these guys again, set them back down to 1. I do like the smaller desk thing. I mean, how small do drawers get? Non-related art question: how do you go about streaming your art process and then keep talking during the process even when no one is around? With great difficulty. I find it a lot easier when people are talking. Generally speaking, I don't always think about what I say. So there has been times where after a stream I've had to go back and like edit a video just to remove some stuff. Because of crossing NDAs, that I've been really good actually not breaking any NDAs. But more just stuff is like I say it and then later on I'm just like, that's not necessarily, it's not offensive. I never go into that sort of stuff either. I'm not that type of person. But I just say stuff that I don't really want, like, you know, I come across the wrong way, or I'm not trying to edit how people see me, but I am trying to, like, you know, whenever I say something that isn't really me, I try to get rid of that stuff. But yeah, so what was I gonna say? Oh shit, what was the words I was looking for? Yeah, so in terms of like talking about the process, I just talk about exactly what I'm doing. I'm not necessarily thinking like, oh, what would people want to learn? Because frankly, I don't know what people want to learn, and that will change from person to person. Like just between you and Keegan, there's probably like completely different skill sets there. One of you might be really good at modeling, one of you might be really good at texturing. Neither of you might know anything about lighting. I don't know what people know. And so I try just to say, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm pretty honest about what I don't know. I try to be like as open about not knowing stuff as I am about knowing stuff, because in my past, and I've talked about this before, in my past I used to kind of not big myself up, but I used to focus too much on the things I was good at, and I think that will only ever degrade someone as an artist. Like I feel like if you want to really progress, you have to accept that you really just gonna be shit at some things, and then try to push yourself to be better at them. So when I'm doing these streams, I'm kind of just talking about what my concerns are, you know, what I'm worried about doing most. Like I was mentioning the scarf a lot. It ended up just being a case of literally relaxing the weight paints, and it was good enough for the project. But I just talk about either what I'm afraid of in the project, what I'm looking forward to, in this case grooming the monster. That's going to be so much fun. And yeah, just kind of throwing ideas about, because I know that like most of my ideas are complete trash, so I just throw them all out, and then at some point someone's going to hear them and be like, oh yeah, well, you know, maybe that could be helpful, and you know, people can kind of apply what they want to whatever they have, really. Anyway, I need to stop talking and get on with this. So let's just select the whole scene except from the individually modeled props. The reason I'm doing this is so that I can scale the whole scene around the camera, and I'm not affecting the stuff that I do like, and that is the correct scale. So let's just group all that. I'm just going to call this ENVGRP. Maybe I should call that background. Yeah, that's a good question though, man. Thanks for asking that. I'm glad someone's noticed that I put an effort into that, because it is quite difficult. I'm not an overly confident person when it comes to what's the term I'm looking for now? I'm not an overly confident person when it comes to kind of speaking in groups. I used to be a lot more confident than I am now. Nothing bad happened, it's just naturally my personality has changed over time. I'm realizing an issue I'm going to have with this. Let me just quickly scale this. So this needs to be a scale of approximately 2. So when I move this desk up, everything's going to go completely out of frame. That's what I'm a bit worried about now. So let's go into dual view render cam and just move this up. So if I were to fit all the same amount of stuff in camera, I'd have to change the focal length, but I really like how the character reads at this focal length. So I'm not going to do that. I'm also going to move this, because I don't need to pivot there anymore. Just so I can see it on screen while I like micro adjust this. In fact, I have ambient occlusion. I like to use ambient occlusion for matching stuff sometimes. It's a bit easier. Somewhere like there. So yeah, like it's cutting out this corner. So we might want to, it's also removing these guys. And also this guy's gonna be massive now. This is a huge book at this point. So we may want to remove this big book because that's now like a giant art book. So let's move that. Grab this guy, move him down. Then just grab these, move them down. I mean, these are now stupidly thick books, but that might work a bit better. And let's just get you out of here. Rotate that slightly. Yeah, I asked because I tried streaming my art from time to time, but always struggle to keep talking when no one's on stream, so that someone doesn't enter midstream and it's me quiet. I mean, I don't always talk. Obviously, like I know you're quite new to these streams, but we are now at like I think 200 to 300 hours worth of video. I think it was FK Twigs alone got to 120 hours of video. And the vast majority of that I'm quiet. I'd say about 75% of it I'm quiet. When it's streams that a lot of people are joining in on, that's great. I love that because I can actually continue to talk to people. I find it a lot easier. That isn't in the right place, is it? So yeah, like I find it a lot easier when people are talking. So like right now with you talking, that makes my life so much easier. Let's put that there. Oh, that's way off now. Let's just scale it down slightly. Just get more of the screen back in. And I guess this can move forward again now. After all that scaling and stuff, it can actually just come back forward. Not too worried about the back intersecting. I just want the books to not be intersecting. So let's just grab you. I'm going to snap the pivot down here. There, actually. Have it fall over a bit. And then, ideally, this should be a shorter book. But I guess we're just going to go with one of the longer ones. And just have these... Oh, have these move that way. I guess you would also pivot, right? So let's grab that. I hate when the pivot gets completely confused. So that's leaning. I can lean more. But yeah, talking on stream is quite difficult sometimes. If you want to do streaming, like I definitely recommend doing it. For me, it's a great art motivator. Like it really helps me actually just do some work, which is something I've always struggled with. Like I think prior to finishing university, I was really good at doing lots of projects. Like I could have lots of stuff on the go all the time, whereas once I became professional, I found it a lot more difficult to do that. Like a lot more difficult to do that. Just because I spent all day working on stuff, and then I got home and I just like I don't want to work on this anymore. Like I just want to relax. Whereas now, I mean, going to Blue Zoo has helped quite a bit because it's a lot kind of. The work isn't as stressful. It's still a lot to do and there's still a lot to learn from it, but it's not as stressful as VFX work, which I'm definitely preferring. But let's put that back there actually. Yeah, I'm definitely preferring it, but it means that like, prior to that, because I was streaming when I was at MPC as well, I couldn't motivate myself, whereas doing this stream kind of to document the process and to kind of talk to new people and you know, at the end of a series, I have a video I can look back on and kind of learn from, like, you know, learn from my mistakes. Hello.
Our area is high chance of risk of court.
You mean COVID? COVID.
Sean tried to be, he was like, did you read it once wrong? And I was like, yes. He's like, how did you guess? Big Becca. He was understanding. Normally I'm like, I'm sorry, Sean. My stupidity.
There's no bounce?
Stupidity.
Stupidity. Stupidity.
Oh, I wore earrings today. They did not agree with my ears. Still don't.
Okay, so now I'm realizing you have to update your scene whenever you change your test resolution. Hey, Kosi, how you doing, man?
Is it?
Kosi?
Howdy.
What are you singing?
It's the Euphoria soundtrack. Have you ever watched Euphoria? No?
Nope.
It's the cinematography in it is one of those shows. There's Zendaya's in it.
Right.
But there's a whole storyline. It's like she was addicted to drugs, and it's about her trying to become sober. Is one of the characters in it. But the cinematography on it, the way I've been watching like the breakdowns of how they shot it, because it's all about her kind of like in between high background in the modern day.
Yep.
So like there's shots where she'll fall down on the bed, but then instead of doing it in comp, they've actually done it with camera trickery. So she'll fall in bed, not sure like the the progression of time.
Yep.
So it's like she falls in the bed, and then someone like who's a double will walk past with a hood up, and it's like the camera then will flip, and it will be like the hallways in the wall. It's so cool, like the way they've done it. And Zendaya will get up and run behind the camera, and then she'll end up like, you know, like, all the rooms are like open on the set. It is so cool the way it's been done. Like I am hella impressed.
I don't like the new composition.
Let me see. I don't like it either. Sorry.
Thanks.
I know what you mean. But I know
The
what you
abruptness.
mean.
This one compared to that one.
What did you do that was different?
I've basically scaled it so it's real life scale, because this is like hacky scale. Like these are like 3.5 centimeters.
Oh yeah.
But I'm preferring how it looked like this on the right.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Which is an issue.
Let me see the other side. Can you bring? I can't see behind your microphone.
Can you come over here then?
I think it just needs brought forward more.
Yeah, but that's kind of the issue, is I can't just bring it forward really.
I don't know. I think you get away with the scale. The scale doesn't feel wrong.
It did to me.
I don't know. You can ask. But I don't think it
Yeah, it just feels too flat. I mean, I can try bringing the whole background scene forward. That might present new issues. Is my issue. My worry about it.
Do you have a recommendation for a tutorial as to how to copy and paste? Or to bring your guides into Redshift from Curves?
What? Guides into Redshift?
Oh no, sorry. You know what I mean, actually.
Into Xgen? You just select them, go into your groom, curves to guides in the utility tab.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this isn't working. I might go to the old version. Because as much as this is technically more correct, I don't care about correct. I care about pretty image. Image look pretty, that make me happy. So we're about to potentially lose 25 minutes work. Although I'm not entirely sure what I've done in that time. I think I've been mostly talking during that time. Color space is missing, yeah, kind of expected that. This is back to real scale, so I'm gonna have to scale the post-it notes because they are one of the things that kind of giving away the scene scale issue. That resolution really bothers me. It's 1801 by 1440. Oh, is this the wrong camera? Right.
It's weird how we didn't have any more internet issues.
Yeah, it just stopped, didn't it? We were having internet issues like all of today. Like our internet completely dropped out for
like twice, but
twice for about 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah, but like the whole thing shut down.
Yeah, like it was completely like the modem was gone. Like it just nothing was working. Like normally your internet like drops for a while. I mean it was slow all morning, wasn't it? Like, I was struggling to stream any videos like for the background. Yeah, definitely prefer this scale. This is with the glass correctly scaled. which kind of helps, like the whole scale thing feeling small. It's just a case of how small this scene is compared to a hand. Have you ever run into an action guide animation issue where after simulating the guides using the hair system exporting Alembic, the action guides don't follow the simulated ones? I mean, I've not done much hair simulation for a very long time, so I can't really say I've had that issue. Not because that issue doesn't happen, but just because I've not had it. I'd recommend... So when you exported it as an Alembic, did you export it in world space and with all that sort of stuff? And are you making sure to turn off live mode in your guide animation tab?
Who is it?
Christian. In your guide animation tab, the one where you converted the guides to hair sim, there should be a little live button. Just make sure you turn that off. But yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, that's a pretty broad potential issue, so it's hard to tell exactly what it'll be from a comment. But yeah, can't really help that much with that one. Right, I need to figure out the body, because I really want to get started on the groom for the body soon, because it will make quite a big difference to the image. It might throw off all the stuff that I'm currently worrying about, which is ideally a good thing, because it means I'm worrying about stuff I don't need to worry about. So...
Why don't you just want to do something else and then maybe post it for...
What, sorry?
Why don't you...
No, that's what I was just saying.
Yeah, and then post it somewhere for...
Yeah, I was literally
Okay.
just saying how I'll do that. Yeah, I'm not sure on the new body pose, because I basically, yeah, as I said earlier, like off stream, I kind of changed the body pose so it's not the same as the original illustration, simply because like the amount of body that was off screen would mean that the groom would be like excessively heavy, would potentially cause a lot of issues. I need to regroup all these guys again. Let's grab you, group, BG, ENV, GRP. I swear that's like a system. Right, the geo, we got, get you in there. Let me just hide that group for now. Keep life simple. Oh, didn't I put that in there? Oh, that's in the actual environment group. That makes sense. And then this guy I can delete again. What's that?
The dog that I love.
Which one, sorry?
You know the dog Bunny that I love, the one that like...
Oh, yeah.
So the dad is like a teacher, so he obviously works upstairs because of Corona and like they're not in school.
Yep.
And it was like, did Bunny just tell him to shut up? Because he has this like ball in his hand, they're trying to teach her the word for ball, and he keeps hitting ball every time she tries to get it from his hand. And she goes, she stops and looks at the buttons and goes, settle, sound, ouch. Like, shut up. Like it's hurting her ears. It's so funny. She's like, did Bunny just tell you to shut up?
That's pretty good.
Also, I've hidden, so see in I've set up all my descriptions now for all my scalps.
Yep.
But the hairs are still there. You know, like the way it does like auto puts like little hairs around the surface?
I'll have to have a look, because I'm not sure. What? Yeah, because it's not your guides that make it visible. It's a separate thing.
I've hit that. It must have bugged out earlier because I hit it and it wouldn't let it like do it.
It was possible that the UI was cached on something.
Okay, I'm gonna grab the scalp.
Right. Right, so we only need to cut the body just off screen. I think cutting it around here will be good. So let's open that UV back up. Cut. And let's just get both of these next to each other, so lay that out. See, what I want to do is just make sure that I'm getting the most out of this UV space as I can, because I will be using the Maya Paint tool. So I guess cutting it into quarters might be better.
No guide selected. Perfect.
Where's that? That's about half. Then this is on screen, so I'm not sure about this one, but let's try it anyway.
Oh no.
What's up?
Unable to create curves from guides, no guides selected.
Curves from guides.
No, I've done that. Oh, guides. Yeah, curves to guides, I clicked.
1 sec.
So I've selected them.
Yep. There's the guides, yeah.
That.
Guides, yeah.
It did not do that a minute ago. Okay, cool.
It might be a case of you had the wrong thing selected. Like you might have had because when you read out the error, you were saying
Oh, okay.
curves from guides.
I
No
think
guides
I think
selected.
both were selected at the same time.
Yeah,
so if
probably.
selected
Yeah,
both-
it's really easy. So the thing is, the problem with XGen is when you click on a utility, it doesn't hide the other utilities. Which, once you're really comfortable with XGen, is really easy because you know what stuff is. But until you know what that stuff is, like it's really easy to kind of fuck it up. Do I want to keep these cuts here? So what I'm worried about now is I'm placing these cuts kind of arbitrarily, just to kind of get the most out of my UV space. But at the same time, I might not want that. I might want to hide the cuts as much as possible.
It'll hit my parting map.
Am I sorry?
It'll hit my parting map.
Oh really? That's gonna be a fun one.
Is it? On a party map. Like density. Like
Oh,
airline.
the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a case of it is iterative. Remember, so don't worry about getting it right first time because you'll get it wrong first time and second time and third time and fifth time. It's just how it goes. So let's preview. Fundamentally, right now I'm starting to get these ready for grooming. What's up?
The add guides tool is only available for descriptions using guides.
That means that when you're creating the system, you set it to attribute and not using curves. You can change that after the fact. Just go to attribute and change it to this. When you're creating the groom, remember to take your time and make sure you're selecting the right things because not all of it you can go back on. Open this up.
It's selected.
No, open it.
Oh, I know what's wrong. Hang on.
Oh, you're in the eyebrows. Change this.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're in the right groom as well when you're converting guides, because that also matters. Right, okay, back to this. So, yeah, because the problem with this is that is like right in the middle of the render list, right there. So if it causes any issues, I'm not sure if it will. I mean, we can always convert out, like I'm not too worried about it, but I think it's better to have this kind of UV utilization rather than any of the other stuff. And I'm going to also straighten all these UVs, because not all of them are completely straight. There we go. That's a bit better. Just move this over, and then I'm fairly sure that this is so it's compressing a little bit here, so let's try and unfold along the V. I mean, that's technically correct, but I might not want technically correct in this case. I think that is better. And the reason I think this is better is because if I'm doing procedural maps, the minimal distortion, the minimal kind of, the straightness of the UVs is more helpful to me if I'm doing like ramps and stuff than any of the little compressions that we're getting here. Like this doesn't matter that much. It's still important, but these aren't exactly awful UVs. They're just not ideal. Like you would want to kind of unfold this for regular texture painting, but I'm not going to be really doing much of that. And on Groom anyway, you don't see like the micro parts of your texture. Most of it's done with percentage anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. You okay, Becca? One sec, guys.
No, it's fine.
No, I'll help you out for a minute.
No,
Get
wait,
you
it's
going.
fine.
No?
No.
You struggling?
No.
Okay. But yeah, so I also need to figure out what I'm doing with the head of this guy. One thing as well I'm thinking about doing is having some kind of like organic thing coming out from the eyes and the mouth, even if it's just like not necessarily organic, maybe like a kind of smoke or something, like something just to make it feel like slightly evil, because at the moment it just looks like hey, how are you doing? Like, it doesn't really feel threatening. I don't want it to feel scary. I just want it to feel like this is potentially an issue and this kid's completely ignoring it. Because that's one of the things I love about the concept art, is the kid just doesn't give a fuck. He just looks done with everything. Like, if I go into PureF, like, the kid straight up doesn't give a shit. It's really quite funny. So if I load that up, load recent, just go over to that. Like, you got this giant like monster that looks like it could just like wrap around him and kill him in a second, and he's just like, yeah, right. Like, he doesn't care. And I want to really make sure that that kind of gets sold a bit. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to make the monster look threatening. Again, not scary, because that's not the aim. Just something that it looks like it could kill you if it wanted to, but it doesn't necessarily want to right now. Getting that feel is going to be quite difficult, because I don't normally do that type of thing. I normally overplay stuff quite a lot in my characters. Like, whenever I've done like horror characters, it's a lot more like in your face. I don't do horror characters very often, other than the creepy thing that I did the other day, or the other week, sorry. I've not done anything like threatening in years now, I think, other than professional stuff. But yeah, so I want to make this feel eerie in some way, and I think having, you know, a very subtle amount of smoke, or like just these little tendrils, or I can't think of the correct words, but just something to make it feel, you know, more interesting. Because once we've got the fur on there, it's going to feel a lot more interesting. I'll need to figure out how to bound the mask to the groom. I'm thinking of doing like a wrapped up groom. In fact, I have the reference for it, but I literally just closed PureF, so let's get that back open. So let's load this, load recent, and let's go to you. So this is what I'm thinking for the mask like boundary. In fact, I think in general this is a really good reference. It's not what I'm gonna go for. I think a yak is slightly more interesting, but this is still cool in its own right. I mean, maybe in the long run we'll go back to this. But yeah, I mean, we'll get around to it. We'll figure it out at some point. It'll be one of those where I'll block out the entire groom, realize I hate it, and then start again. In terms of start, well, not start again, but more like just delete a few modifiers and rebuild it. Guide work will be the same no matter what I go for, I think. At least I hope anyway. I don't want to redo guides for this whole one, because this sort of mesh is really hard for guides. But yeah, so we got UVs on this guy. It's probably worth quickly squaring up some of these faces. So let's just get all those. That one, and then I'm just going to edit edge flow on these. Edit edge flow. There you are. You okay?
Yeah.
I in the stream earlier. I'll help you out in a sec.
No, it's alright.
You sound like you're struggling now. Oh, come on, there we go. Got it eventually. There we go. So I think that will be fine as well. Part of me is just like, do I start the groom now? Like, just start blocking stuff, but at the same time, when I start the groom, I do want to kind of post it and be like, yo, I'm gonna start groom, because a lot of people like follow, at least in terms of my public like art profiles and stuff, they follow me for groom. So I don't want to start it without saying I'll be grooming tonight. So maybe in the next stream I'll start blocking out the body, which will be on what, Thursday? Today's Tuesday, right? Tuesday, yeah, so the next one will be in like 2 days. So maybe we'll start grooming the monster on the next stream, which will be fun. This is working fine. Don't think I need to change much of the cloth. I don't really like this leg, but it's not really worth fixing, because from the angle that the camera's at, it's fine. And this angle of the body here isn't great. Let's kind of curl back. Although maybe it adds a little bit more interest, so it might be worth keeping. Let's just grab this guy. and make this as gentle as we can. Something like that. Let's move that up. There we go. That helps a bit. Although it feels a bit too much of a hook now. It's weird how something so subtle can break it. So I guess it's worth bringing this guy forward instead. Let's lower that radius a little bit. There we go, that's better. And the thickness is fading off a bit too quickly, so I think what I'm going to have to do is grab all these guys and just very gently kind of inflate it. I know we're going to be covering in fur. I just want to make sure that the volume's not too inconsistent before we add groom, because if we add groom onto an inconsistent volume, then we're going to be battling it a lot, whereas it's easy to fix now, so I may as well fix it now. Like, because getting the volume right in the groom is fucking nightmare, at least for like worm shapes or like tails and stuff. They're always a nightmare. So that feels a bit better. The never-ending sound of ambulances. Living right next to an ambulance depot is pretty annoying. So we'll need to close the ends as well. So let's just quickly do that. And I'm going to need to hide the head, because I think in the end I'm not really going to have it. So let's get used to having that gone for now. And I'm just going to move this. Luckily we've already got stretched faces, which makes it a bit easier. And then I want this to be as linear as possible. Something like that will do. Then the rest of the volume is going to come from fur. Although it's worth checking. I need to stop closing PureRef because I keep having to reopen it. It's worth checking what the volume of the fur is like around that mask. So it's way bigger than the mask, so this gives us a bit of leeway. I'm going to move that off screen, put on my second monitor. Cool, so I got that maximized on the screen. But yeah, so this gives us a fair bit of room to kind of like grow the fur out, give it a ton of space. Because I don't want the fur to be like too compressed, like too flat. This is going to get really bulky though. Like when we add all the fur, this is going to get massive on screen. And since we're doing it from a side angle rather than the front angle, like the angle has changed. This is a lot more kind of diagonal, but this is vertical. I just wanted it to be looking more at the main character. We can always change that. It's just a case of kind of angling this guy and finding a new position for him. In fact, is he actually looking at the kid right now? He isn't, is he? Just angling down slightly. And let's just see how that looks in camera. And then just to appeal to camera a bit better, turn it that way. I'm not sure I like that change. Yeah, he's not technically looking at the kid, but I think actually that angle just works better anyway. Although technically he is just looking at the floor behind him. So I doubt that this thing really has particularly movable eyes. Granted, this looks like he's looking nowhere near the kid. He looks like he's kind of looking at something else entirely. Which actually, is that an intentional thing, do you think? Obviously, the problem with post-it note art is you can't get a sense of depth. Like, well, it's not a problem with post-it note art. It's kind of a byproduct of this guy's art style. So like, you can't tell depth. Like, it's impossible. There's not really any shadows. You got a little bit of ambient occlusion here or there, but there's no real shadows. And obviously, I have like strayed quite far from this. This is more of a loose inspiration than a direct kind of bit of work at this point. But it's not. It's more like loose reference than actual matching. It's not like the FK Twigs project where I really want to match everything perfectly. But yeah, so let's put that back over there. I think this is fine, so let's just get the ends of these closed. And let's just let ZBrush, not ZBrush, why do I keep saying ZBrush? It's like Maya kind of unfreeze itself. Come on. There we go. It's going to mash the escape key. There we go. So, save my scene. Also need to freeze transformations on this mask at some point. In fact, now is a pretty good time. Modify freeze transforms. This is in a decent enough place. It needs a bit more volume, but I think that's just because I don't have the fur on there and I've just removed the head geo. So let's close the ends of this mesh. And I guess, in fact, yeah, this stream can be the groom prep stream, because I've been kind of struggling for what a goal should be in this stream. So in this one, I'm not going to be making a scalp for this, because obviously the whole body is a scalp. But we'll close the edges, make it kind of watertight, make sure it's right, start building the scalp for the kid, because I still need to kind of figure out exactly how I'm going to do that. I'm thinking of aiming towards, if I can find it. Oh, did I not save it? Oh shit, it's going to be a nightmare to find. Alright, there's a reference that I found originally. I know I sent it to Jesus at one point, so I can just kind of track it down from there. But yeah, so basically, like, it's kind of a loosely attached wig, so it's like a netting that has hair on it, but the netting isn't like flush to the head, so I kind of like be hanging off in little areas. It should be quite fun, I think, to groom, because I've not groomed on something that's like literally not attached to the head. But yeah, so I guess we should just fill this hole. Fill hole. And then how many edges do we have? We have 12, so that's, if I remember correctly, a pretty easy number to correct, because we can divide it. It's just a case of one side, i.e. top in this case, will be more dominant. So let's just do that. And what I mean by more dominant is that it's got this, you know, it's like 3 edges going down and 1 edge going across, but that's all quads. So if I just grab, I'm going to re-UV this, aren't I? Fuck. Oh no, I'll just cut the ends off. But yeah, if I just kind of do that, let's go down even more. Just do that. So an edge loop. And then let's grab these verts. I'm not sure this will really do anything, but let's just average verts. Yeah, it did nothing. And then let's do the same at this end. Fill hole. And what we want to do now is get the same edges connected, so it's diagonal at this end. So we need to connect this guy and that guy. Pretty sure that's right. Yeah, that's correct. Alright, cool. So that's the one that has one either side of it. So let's just do that. Do that. And do that. So that is now identical on both sides. Extrude. Scale. Insert loop. And that would be it, because obviously these are completely hidden areas anyway. I guess it's kind of nice to inflate these a bit. So if we just do that, although we'll want to massively taper the soft select, do something like that. Cool. Just to make it a little bit less square. So it just looks a bit dull, even though we literally won't see it. Let's just hide. There we go. Delete the history on that guy, and then let's just check the UVs over. So these ends are going to have really quite bad UVs, in that they won't really have UVs. So let's just cut the end off. I always go to the wrong place. Cut that. And then let's cut that as well. And what we need to do is select the faces. So let's just go to UV shell, select you, unfold them. Okay, oh yeah, because they don't have UVs, of course. So let's just project these. Convert to faces, contain faces, and then, come on. You can do it, I believe in you. I always seem to forget how to lay out a Maya interface whenever I'm streaming. And let's do this one as well. Cool. Go to mapping and just do a random planar map, doesn't matter which one. And the reason it doesn't matter is because neither of them will be perfectly flat, so the unfold tool will actually be able to do something with them. So go to that UV, and let's just grab both of these, unfold, and lay them out on their own. Scale them down. Texel density doesn't really matter for these because they're hidden, so just get them out of the way. And then technically it'd be easier if all of these match length, but at the same time having their texel density match is the most important aspect, so I'm going to leave that completely alone. And that's entirely within the first UDIM. Cool, so that's that guy ready to groom, which we'll do again in the next stream. Because I do want to get started on the groom for this, and I think model wise he's okay. He's not perfect, but he's going to be so hidden by groom anyway. I need to decide on kind of environment later, like if I want to fix the scale or not, because at this angle, like this camera angle, it looks pretty nice to me, but at any other angle it doesn't really work. Like these are just too small. Like a half-pint glass shouldn't be this big next to a shelf, so these would like fit a wallet in them. And I have had shelves that small before, but you know, they're not great. Like it doesn't make any sense for the shelf to be as tall as it is deep. This doesn't make any sense at all. I guess we should make a scalp for the kid. So now's one of the things I need to decide on. Do I just want to groom below the hat and have him be bald below the hat, or do I actually want to groom for the hat as well? Because with him being a miniature, you don't necessarily need hair below the hat. So I personally, if I was building a miniature, wouldn't put hair below it. But at the same time, it kind of limits. I think scalp wise I'll give it all the room we need, but I'll probably mask it to not go past the hat. And we do also have the issue of silhouette wise, like I'm not giving the hair any room, like it's going straight through the hat, which is not really ideal. But yeah, so we're going to need to get him in his bind pose to start with. And then what frame was it that he goes to? So we'll be grooming it in bind pose, and the reason for that is just so I can use symmetry, because I really, in fact no, if I'm going to be doing the loose, oh shit, okay, so if I'm going to be doing the loose scalp thing, that's going to make this really, oh fucking Christ, okay, this is going to be a lot more than I expected it to be. Let me see if I can find that reference again. I'm going to have to go into my chat with Jesus, because I know I sent it to him. I know I've shown it on stream as well, which only makes it all the more painful that I don't remember when this was. See how long it takes me to zoom back to this. I apologize for like the mild train wreck of a stream that I've been kind of wandering aimlessly. Where is it? Come on, got to turn it up at some point. I did send it, didn't I? Oh, there it is. I almost went past it. So this is what I really kind of quite like. Obviously, I'm not going to match it one-to-one because this is like an old man thing. I also need to get PureRef open, Where are you? Oh, you're over there. Just going to drag this onto it. Which, by the way, if you didn't know you could do that, pure ref, you can literally just drag images from the internet. So let's get that closed. But yeah, so like I really like how it's a kind of a loose netting that's sat on top of the head. Like you can see how it's coming off here. It's like glued here. There's a bit of a gap. I really quite like that. I think it's really interesting. And for a miniature, it would really help sell everything. I need to stop saying the word really. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I think the texture of the hair as well, kind of how brittle it feels. It feels incredibly dry. The strays are all really artistic as well, so placing those by hand will probably be the easiest way, which is quite fun. I quite like that method, at least for stills. I wouldn't do it for a pipeline, fuck that. But yeah, I just think this could be a really fun thing to do. So I need to decide right now if I'm going to do the loose scalp thing, or if I'm just going to go for the style effect. I think the loose scalp thing will be the most interesting. So with that logic, I'm going to need to not include the hat. So let's go to bind pose, select you, duplicate you, and then let's just name this guy head scalp geo, and going to temporarily completely isolate that. So I guess now as well I need to get the volume right before I even start grooming, because I can't move it. This idea is really complicating things for me. So I think that'll be okay. Let's cut off the neck as well. We can probably remove from here. Also, if you're wondering why it's important to get like self-closing loops rather than spiral loops, this is why. This is so much faster. Like if you remember Twig's project, or if you watched the Twig's project when I was doing it, you'll remember that I had to spend ages selecting around the ear. This I don't have to. Let's go down 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's our scalp. Do we delete the top of the head? I think we're going to have to, aren't we? So we need the hat for this. Oh, fuck, it doesn't line up. So let's just go with, oh. Let's go with like this point down. So this is our scalp mesh. That feels alright. You can't see the top of it, which is what I want. I need to check the hair mesh. So we don't need sideburns either, which is helpful. So let's go back to that scalp mesh. Solo you. So can delete that. Cool. I guess we can look dev this thing. Because it's just a cloth, right? So, what do we need to do right now? I need to isolate just these guys. I need to put you in a temporary layer. I also need to delete the layers pretty soon. I need to put you in another layer and make you reference. So this is the only mesh I can select. I just need to kind of pull this away from the head in certain areas. So let's just go into edge mode. Well, let's inflate the whole thing slightly so the whole thing doesn't quite sit on the head. And then I'm not going to have to use symmetry with this, am I? So I don't even need to groom in bind pose. But I should groom in bind pose, so I'm going to groom in bind pose. Right, okay. Is there a way? I can't do maintain volume. Technically, this would be a really good time to go into ZBrush with the new cloth tools, because they can maintain surface area when you sculpt, whereas soft select doesn't, and it shouldn't really, because that'd be a fucking nightmare. So let's just, the closest thing I can do is rather than move, I can rotate. So what you do is you select an area like that and then you rotate it out, and the surface area is going to be roughly the same as if you move it, as before moving it. So let's just grab you. I'm going to put my pivot towards the edge of where the soft select reaches and just pull it out. Grab an area like this one, pivot there, take that out. You see how it's like just kind of loosening off from the head. That's all I need. This guy will just move out. And then I guess down here would be good to have like hanging off. I say it'd be good to complete shot in the dark. I don't have enough design sense to really logic this stuff through properly. Just have that loosely hang. And then, yeah, so that whole thing is sitting slightly off the head. So now if we assign a material to that, so let's just grab you. I'm going to save my scene, because this scene's getting very complex very quickly. Grab this guy, deform, wrap deform, put it in pose. And then let's just hide this for the moment and assign a new material to you. So assign new material. I'm going to call this one hair net, hair base. No, because that would be confusing with the actual hair. Maybe I could just call it scalp, like scalp. Char kid scalp mat. And let's just get you visible. Let's get the background visible as well. In fact, I think it is now. 0 shading groups. Edit, delete all by type, and delete by type, non-deformer history. So it's still wrap deformed, yep. And this should now work. Let's try just updating full scene. I'm kind of leaning now towards not doing the loose scalp thing, because I think it's going to add a lot more complication than it does visual appeal. Especially at this distance, like you're not going to see it. But at the same time, I don't want it to feel like this wooden doll is growing hair. So I'm kind of stuck. Oh, the head. That's a fun one. Why are you invisible? Oh yeah, because when you do a wrap deformer, I don't know why it does this, but it's really annoying. So I have to go back to edit, delete non-deformer history, just to simplify that out again, and then one of these, there we go. For whatever reason, the one that gets kept is the one that's invisible. There you go. Xbox Terra looms close. Cool. So let's just grab this area, because I don't need much else. So we're going to need to make this look like a net somehow. Easiest way is to get some cloth stuffs going. So let's go into that material. I'm gonna diffuse weight up, set it to be mildly close to the wood color. Spec, I'm going to turn the weight down really fucking low and make it super rough. In fact, something like that will be alright. Plastic, I want to go lower, let's go to 0.4. Don't need transmission on the subsurface because it won't really be that visible. Let's add a little bit of sheen though. Let's do something like that. Let's check that out. That colour is too bright. Oh yeah, because I'm in aces now, so what colour I pick is not the result I get. So let's just, there we go. That's a bit closer. It's close. It gets a bit more saturation in the reds I've found with faces. That's like the biggest difference. Obviously, other than the what's the word I'm looking for right now? Other than the increased dynamic range of the camera or the increased exposure range, the main difference is this. So let's go into our hypershade, and I'm going to go with burlap. I think it should be made of burlap. So let's grab you. I will want this to be a regular material, so turn you off because I don't need that for a bit. I'm gonna grab you, put you there, and this bit is important. We need to make sure the surface material is set to a regular Maya material like Lambert or Blinn. The reason for that is because we'll be using the Maya paint tool to paint our textures, so it doesn't support anything other than native Maya materials. I don't know, maybe it supports Arnold materials because they're fully integrated, but I'm leaning towards it not doing, so I'm probably wrong in that, but it's worth just setting it up properly anyway. So what I do is I grab this and put it into the render time surface shader, and then I create a Blinn, or let's just go with a Lambert, and then this one will be called Char Kid Scalp Proxy Map, and this will just go into there, and this means that in the viewport it's a Lambert. So there it is, it's a Lambert in the viewport, even if we turn off that, like it's still Lambert. But at render time, it's still this material. That hasn't changed. So that just means that the XGen pipeline's a little bit cleaner. I can set this to whatever color I wanted. In fact, just to prove a point, let's just turn that off. So that's what it does in viewport. I'm just gonna visually match that. There you go. So what color is that set to out of curiosity? Let's just set it to 0.5. Cool. But yeah, so turn that back on. So let's create a file node. We're going to want burlap for this. I'm just going to use the displacement, I think. In fact, no, I don't need the displacement. That'd be overkill. I just need the opacity. Although I should use bump, I think. So let's go to my asset library, texture SRZ, cloth, micro, burlap is in here somewhere, there it is. 2K, no, 2K is unnecessary for this mesh. 1K, go to opacity, and this will just go into our opacity. Perfect. This is a data type, so we don't want aces to remap it in any way. So I'm just going to go all the way down to utility and utility raw. So that just means that aces will not alter these colors in any way. It will leave it as if it's pure data, which in this case it is. We need another one, file texture, and this one will be our displacement or bump in this case. So I'm just going to get the displacement, create a AI bump 2D, plug the red channel, I guess, into U, and then plug U into normal camera. And then IDs I'm going to leave alone. Let's just render this through the perspective cam. And what will have happened now is it's massive. So we need to just find a better angle. So I'm just going to do that because I really don't need that much information. I'm going to connect these UVs up there. We don't need any of this stuff for our purposes. To be honest, I still don't know what these are for. As far as I'm aware, they're just for like finding out what the rotation was downstream. But for just placing UVs, you don't need it. So let's go into that guy. And I'm just going to set the tiling. So let's go with 20 by 20. There we go, we have like a burlappy effect. That's kind of weird. Oh, is it cached to 20 by 1 or something? No, because that's working. So, oh, it needs to be set to raw as well. Utility raw. I don't know what's going on there. It's kind of strange. Let's try updating full scene because I don't trust that that's working correctly. It's really choking right now. let's fix it. There we go, we got something that feels a bit more like burlap. So let's set you to 0.1, because I think that's the correct strength for this sort of thing. And I think I am going to need the color variation. So let's just kill that render, create a new file node, delete you because I don't need you, get you. Don't know why it's choking right now. Let's just get the ID. And then as always, layer texture. This will go into our base color. We want a basic color, which is the color of the material as a whole. So I think that should be this guy. And then we want a layer on top of that, whose blend mode is set to over. Let's do the multiply thing instead. Multiply add. So I'm going to set that to multiply by black, and then set the red channel of this guy. Let me just quickly check actually. Yeah, red and blue channels. So I'm just going to grab the red channel, plug that into input 1 alpha, and there we go. So that's going to multiply that guy. That isn't working. I accidentally plugged it into the wrong one. Alpha. Disconnect that guy. And then let's add another one, and this one can be set to lighten. And we're just going to use blue, alpha. And we're going to set this to add. Basically, both of these should be, so this one should be close to white, and this one should be close to black. And what we can do is just get a set amount of variation. So if I set the value of this to, I think 0.8 is a good one actually, and then set the value of U to 0.2, we'll get random variation, well not random, mapped variation, if it worked. And I kind of like the black matte actually. Update full scene. I actually do kind of like this black map thing. I'm not going to keep it, but I do dig it. Okay, why is this not working? Oh, is this the alpha of this guy? Oh, that's there it is. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that's too much. So let's step that back a bit, step you forward a bit. I'm not sure burlap is still the correct one. I want there to be bigger gaps between them. This color's still bothering me as well. Let's go more saturation. Do we need to be more yellow? I think we do. Let's go a touch more yellow. I'm not trying to exactly match color, I just want it to be close-ish. Because if he was making this scalp, he wouldn't make it, you know, not the same. Doing the guides for this is going to be fun. Cool. So now if we go back to our proper camera, one thing I want to do it as well at some point is reconstruct the motion of this, because I really like the shapes as a given, so I don't want to recenter it. So what I might have to do is model this curtain into a neutral pose and blend shape it into this pose. And the reason I might want to do that is for motion blur, because I'm still not 100% set on if I want motion blur in this scene or not, because it doesn't make sense for miniature to have much motion blur. If you look at anything by Leica, there's no motion blur in them just because it's individual photos, so it doesn't make sense. But I do kind of want to do a little bit of something to hint at motion, and currently I think this curtain is the best option for that. Yeah. Really struggling to think right now. I need to re-UV this head. Not the head. Oh good god, not re-UV the head right now. I need to re-UV this guy, because that's the current UVs and that's not good enough for grooming. So I'm just going to play in a map, doesn't matter which way I do it. And then I'm just going to go into UV mode, turn off soft select, and just unfold this. Then lay it out. And then let's just hold J while we rotate it to snap that way. No, that way. Cool. So that's going to change the size of the burlap quite a bit, but not really too bothered about that, to be honest. But yeah, so what we'd want on this guy as well is quite a lot of backlighting. So if we go into our perspective camera, we are in our perspective camera. If we set this to our perspective camera and just get this like there, give that a moment to do its thing, it'll be like completely shadowed on the inside, and I don't want that. So the easiest way is to add some backlighting, which I've gotten far too used to redshift, so I don't know where this is anymore. Is there not backlighting? It has to be, right? Geometry. Do caustics on a net. Okay, so apparently you don't have that. I don't want to put some surface on this thing. Oh god, what would I use for this? I mean, technically it doesn't matter. It's just really gonna bug me. I'm also not too keen on the fact this is a perfectly sharp edge, but for a scalp I can't really avoid that. I don't want a frayed edge on this thing. If I did, I'd have a separate proxy geometry just for the hair. I think I need to tile that a bit more. Let's go into the color, then follow the alpha. That'll take us to U, and you're being used for everything. So let's set you to 40 and 40. Oh wait, actually, that doesn't make any sense. Why am I making it smaller? So he's a miniature. I need to stop thinking of this as if it's real scale. So let's go to 10. That makes more sense. I probably will end up adding like a Freyend's groom to this thing, just to kind of blend that in a little bit better. But I think that's fine, considering it's going to be covered in hair. Like, you're only going to see like little bits through that. If anything, that makes it worth increasing slightly, just so it's actually visible. Because if I keep it super low res, like the gaps of the hairs are going to be, you know, smaller than the size of those strands, so you wouldn't actually see a single strand. You see like random, really random placed stuff. But I'm going in the stream early today just because it's feeling like one of those aimless days where I struggle to kind of push through stuff. And I don't really see the point in wasting everyone's time. That said, it looks like the next stream we'll be able to start grooming, which is exciting. Because it's about time, to be honest. It's a case of, do I groom the character, or do I groom the kid, or do I groom the monster? I think I should groom the monster first, because that will make the biggest difference to the image. But at the same time, I really want to work on the kid. So I'll decide prior to that stream. And something's going on with the hat as well, I've just noticed. It's probably an issue with the weight painting. Oh no, it's just clipping. Alright, cool. Or is it just clipping? Yeah, it's just clipping. Alright, cool. So let's just set that back to frame 1. I guess, is it worth quickly doing that stuff now? It's going to be quite complex because it's a thick mesh. So I need to use volume selection for everything. I mean, I could literally just go in and, like, it doesn't need to be pretty. I could literally just go in and do that and blend shape that forward, and we'll get some motion blur. The problem then is the motion blur is too linear, that I'd need it to flick out. So I probably need multiple blend shapes, to be honest, to be fired over time, so I can get like a curl. Because blend shapes by their nature are completely linear, and you wouldn't want them to be anything other than linear, I think, in most cases anyway. You just want them to blend nicely. Also, this area back here is completely screwed, but it's off camera, so I don't care. Yeah, I guess what I'll do, I'll kick off an end of stream render. If anyone, like, there's 6 people watching right now. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to kind of sit and answer some stuff for a little bit. But I can just tell it's feeling like an aimless stream right now, so I don't want to waste people's time, basically. So I'd rather kind of kick off an end of stream render and kind of talk to you guys, really. So let's just get that to frame 130, which is the final frame. Yeah, if there's no questions, I'll probably just end the stream in like a minute. Just let me know if you guys want to know anything. If not, then we'll be continuing. I know it's only been a very short stream, literally, what, an hour, 40 minutes, but yeah, it's going to be an aimless stream, so I don't want to waste everyone's time. Looks like no one's got any questions. Alright, I'm going to end the stream here, guys. But yeah, obviously we didn't really get much done. We've blocked out, well, we've set up the models to be groomed. Other than that, we've talked about object scale, kind of discussed about my thoughts on that and the general approach. But yeah, I think next stream will be the one where we start to see a big visual difference, which is, you know, adding all the fur and getting all the pretty stuff in. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your nights, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye, guys.